as it gets to this time of year, as most people do when it gets close to Christmas, you think of memories past and the different presents that you got. And I always think, being a bit of a sort of pessimist sometimes, that you think of the presents that you didn't get. Got to be honest, really, there with having like 3 older sisters and my dad had like full-time job as a driver and stuff. There, I got most of the presents that I asked for, but there's always those 1 or 2 presents that you didn't get. And like I say, I'm sure that I'm not the only person in the world that can associate with this. But these are just a few off the top of my head that I didn't get. And the very first one is Slave One from The Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett ship. And what's kind of curious about this, and especially to me, and I almost want to say it's unique to me, but I've never heard anybody else really say this. I only really like the good guys, like whether it was like Autobots and Transformers or anything like that, and sort of, the different fractions like G.I. Joe or Action Force compared to like Cobra and stuff like that. And it wasn't even Boba Fett, like, no, Boba Fett is the fan favourite and he can't do no wrong. It was just the ship, Slave One. One of my best mates at school, Salty, he had it, and I was insanely jealous of it even to this day. But let's take a look at Slave One. Here's the advert.
Prepare to receive cargo.
Kenner's Slave One comes with frozen Han Solo.
Is Han Solo completely frozen stormtrooper? Yes, Boba Fett.
Action figures each sold separately.
Place them in the prisoner retention unit.
Slave One has a
like a
rear-loaded
cargo
ramp,
hold as the prisoner retention unit.
movable cannons, and gravity-operated wings that trigger lock.
Gravity operated, whatever that means.
Slave One with frozen Han Solo from Kenner's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection. Action figures each sold separately.
Sold separately, that was always a funny thing though as well. If you look at like even just the box to Slave One as an example, but they recreate the old Cloud City Bespin scene where they're loading Han into the back and it says action figures sold separately because it's like £50 worth of action figures on the box, but there's Slave One. Anybody that grew up around the time of E.T. will have wanted to speak and spell. There's nothing kind of revolutionary about that. But I've always been into technology and anything with like a cool robot voice, so speak and spell was always sort of the one to go for. And this, I might have just completely made this up, but I'm sure it's true, that the device that E.T. makes in E.T. for Phone Home actually sort of works. So we've used the speak and spell as like a broadcast device, which is actually kind of cool. Let's take a quick look at the advert.
Now spell color C-O-L-O-R.
This is Speak and Spell from Texas Instruments.
L-O-U-R.
Spell with it,
That is correct.
keep score,
9
play
correct.
mystery words and more. And now there's Speak and Maths too.
Can do it, speak and maths, no, thank you,
Divided
Major.
by 9. 4.
Speak and Spell, Speak and Maths, Little Professor from Texas Instruments. Make learning more fun than games.
That is correct.
Batteries extra. That was a good Spielberg film, wanting to have something else. But one thing about Speak and Maths, I've got this really weird memory about Speak and Maths there. Once when, instead of getting the local swimming baths with the school, we went to another school to use their swimming baths for swimming lessons. And I can always remember distinctly going in and seeing a kid using a Speak and Maths, like, sort of in the waiting area. And I remember being really jealous that even though it was Speak and Maths, I was like, that kid's got Speak and Maths, he must be Bruce Wayne's kid. One of my overriding memories of cool childhood stuff was Big Track, and even though I never ever got hold of it, it was always one of those things where it just seemed this iconic thing that everybody wanted. And looking back on the old adverts, it didn't seem that expensive. I guess, it was easy for me to say, can somebody pony up 40 quid for Big Track in the mid-80s? But you were Charlie Big Potatoes if you had one, and you could actually carry a big potato around in it. Let's look at the advert.
This is Big Track, the computer-activated truck from MB Electronics. Program in up to 16 commands, and Big Track will advance, turn, and fire 3 blasts.
Animal cruelty.
Big Track follows its instructions and can maneuver around every obstacle to complete its mission.
What's that thing behind it? That's like a jukebox.
Program it, and Big Track obeys.
Well done, Big Track.
Big Track from MB Electronics.
If you could afford that extra trailer park though as well, you really were loaded, because I don't know, like I say, looking back on it, I think I only knew about 1 or 2 people who had a Big Track, so yeah, Big Track. I think, 'cause I don't know how popular guns are with kids nowadays, but growing up like in a time when westerns were still relatively popular, and growing up with a dad who was obsessed with like cowboys and things like that, and he got me like Lone Ranger outfits and Lone Ranger toys and stuff. It was always kind of cool to see, like, you know, the Winchester rifle. I guess the Shaun of the Dead guys, they'd be proud, right? And you know you're onto a winner though when they're thinking, the advertising executives are like, who are we going to get advertised this? Well, let's get Chuck Connors from Airplane 2. Here's the ad.
Hello, I'm Chuck Connors, and this is Tin Can Alley.
War Killers, I remember.
Exciting new electronic target game that truly tests your marksmanship from as far away as 25 feet. But Tin Can Alley is safe because it only shoots a beam of light that's as safe as a flashlight.
They're not them
Well,
X-Files
even
ones.
a rifleman sometimes misses. Tin Can Alley, for real target practice at home, from Ideal.
I wonder how many people have got really good at target practice using one of them. It'd be as if some of the Olympic shooters said, yeah, I grew up with Tin Can Alley, but yeah, Tin Can Alley. What's amazing though, just coming off that Chuck Connors advert, it made me think I grew up in such a completely different time than a lot of people, where you'd have people like Chuck Connors and Lee Majors advertising like shows, and like now they'd be considered like granddads or something like that. But again, just growing up in that technological era, as like computers and digital watches were all coming in, and there was something so appealing to me about, like, even though sometimes I've got this reputation of being like a bit of a Luddite there, I love the thought of being able to have technology put into you and sort of just being able to like live on and live forever like Robocop or something like that. $6 Million Man is so cool. It was one of the first times when I can actually remember a teacher at school actually referencing something like from TV, because I remember like during the school assembly once, my headmaster saying that oh, we have the technology, and talking about like why can't we use it for like make the water clean and make all food for everybody and stuff like that. But let's take a look at the advert first. $6 Million Man from 1975.
Colonel Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man, and the new bionic transport and repair station.
The rocket's crashing! We'll put him in the bionic repair station. We can rebuild him. We'll replace the modules in the bionic arm. No injury here. We'll have to check his eye. Bionic eye, A-OK. $6 Million Man, ready for action.
New bionic transport and repair station sold separately. The $6 Million Man, new from Kenner.
Always kind of like that though as well, that the way, like, you know, things like the bionic eye that sort of I actually saw one kid with this, and I don't think the bionic eye actually worked, but it was such a cool idea that, you know, you could see stuff way off in the distance. And I've always got this little sort of other memory of the $6 Million Man, is that you could buy like little clothes for him, so you could have him like as a going underwater guy or an astronaut guy. And as well, it links perfectly for two things that I always bang on about. Well, one thing I always bang on about, but I remember Jeff loved doing the theme tune to $6 Million Man. And one thing that's like a really quirky thing is that, like, nowadays they always say, oh, right, there's like strong role models for girls, but there was actually a Bionic Woman like companion show, so it's kind of, she had a cool German Shepherd too. But hope you've enjoyed the look at a lot of the toys that I didn't get, or some of the toys I didn't get. If there's any toys you didn't get, leave it in the comments below, and we can have a cool discussion about it. But like Santa Claus would say, ho ho ho, keep it locked.
Shall we play a